Campaign. I say I've been a part of 7 presidential campaigns, but this is my first revolution.
There's a very high probability that Ron Paul will walk away with this. Nobody has more dedicated and passionate staff than Ron Paul.
What's refreshing is that Ron Paul's done it the old-fashioned way, with a consistent message and the best outreach operation in the state of Iowa.
There are so many heroes in this campaign that we've just been through. You have to pay for that in other campaigns, and you can't really pay for it. You can't buy it. Gary Howard, a great press secretary, a great leader, and James Barcia just never stopped working night and day, a real talent. And Debbie Hopper, boy, there's not enough money in the world to pay for someone like that to work on your staff. So many, Matt Collins, Brian Gentry, and Jed Coburn, and I can't begin to name all of them. John Tate's one of the best campaign managers I've ever seen operate, and Jesse Benton is pure genius. The delegate strategy that they came up with was a backup plan, and we went to the backup plan when we came real close in Iowa, but the young people really felt it, and we knew it was coming down to the wire. We knew that a lot of people didn't want us to win that.
The Ron Paul people are not going to like my saying this, but to a certain degree it will discredit the Iowa caucuses.
Somebody wants to take us back to the banking system that obtained before the Civil War. No, that person is not going to get the Republican nomination for president.
And Ron Paul, to me, is just a complete distraction.
What's missing in your comments about Mitt Romney?
But I think right now, anybody other than Ron Paul could beat Obama if the election were tomorrow.
You could see afterwards when the news media ignored that we came in a virtual tie with Michelle Bachmann. They ignored us. And when a comedian goes on national TV and the whole nation laughs because they know what he's joking about.
There's a top tier now of Bachmann and Perry and Romney, and, you know, we haven't mentioned, and we should.
Thank you.
We haven't mentioned, and we should, Rick Santorum, who did really surprisingly well for the amount of money and resources he had.
Rick Santorum, he didn't get half of what Ron Paul got. He lost to the guy who lost so bad he dropped out of the race.
But we knew coming close wasn't good enough. And one of the young men there at the Iowa Cavalcade left the room. I saw tears in his eyes when the word came that we had come within just a few votes, but we'd come in second. And later I went into the restroom and he was throwing up. He was in a stall throwing up. That's how deeply felt and passionate these workers were in the campaign. They carried the world on their shoulders. They're taking on the whole establishment, trying to change the world. And Dimitri Kassari, I didn't mention him, but what tremendous work these people did.
This will make history.
This doesn't exist in any of the other campaigns.
We did over 200,000 calls in the last 4 days. Yeah! Call till 11 p.m. Where'd all this energy come from? I mean, how'd you maintain that energy all day? Bravo!
Republican presidential candidate Ron Paul just won Iowa. I know. First we told you that Romney won, then it was Santorum. Turns out Ron Paul won all along.
I want every single one of you to know. You did it. It's your win. You're the reason why.
Give yourselves a hand.
The greatest hero by far, there's no comparison, is Dr. Paul himself. It was when Ron Paul started talking about monetary policy, and I start seeing how monetary policy, just a slight tick in the Federal Reserve, can rob the poor We see it with the loss of the value of our home and our retirement and our IRAs. It's finally got our attention.
Finally, we're getting their attention because people are looking at the right place for the source of the problem. It's at the Fed. They create the bubbles.
So that's what triggered it for me. And it was once that Ron Paul had my attention, I was able to hear the rest of what he had to say.
That's another reason I'm supporting Ron Paul. He's talked about the Federal Reserve and ending the Federal Reserve.
I mean, Ron Paul's the guy who began the conversation about debt, deficit, high taxes, government intrusion. I say this with amazement, but it's becoming more and more clear that we live in the age of Ron Paul, Judge.
If you believe that the world will continue to take our dollars no matter what our debt is, Americans shouldn't have to work anymore because they would just print all the money. So if you love big government and think it can last forever, no, I can understand why you'd love the Fed.
Ron Paul is truly a man of integrity and consistency and honesty.
No, you're saying no compromise. So wasn't